Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Hooligans, and I'm back at it again with another video, and I'm back sooner rather than later. And I'm here to review my biggest moments of what happened in Wandavision episode 6. And boy, oh boy, baby, was that a hell of an episode. And if you haven't watched WandaVision episode 6, I highly advise you to click off this video and go catch up and or watch it because it's definitely about to get spoilery up in this bitch. So, without further ado, I need you to click off and not be spoiled because this is going to go dive in to what's going on in this episode. So yeah, click off this shit, bruh. So let's get right into this video. My biggest moment first was the theme song. What they did with the theme song was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. It was so reminiscent of Malcolm in the Middle. The little girl in me that used to come home from school and watch Malcolm in the Middle couldn't contain her joy. I was super surprised at how they did this episode. Like, wow, I could not ask for a better edition of Malcolm in the Middle. They absolutely took like certain tropes, like when Evan Peters was laying down, they were like did a little blur out with, focusing on his face, and there's a lot of things they were doing. And then also in the theme song, I just loved the lyrics talking about let's keep it going, let's keep it going. Basically try to make it seem like, yeah, Wanda's definitely in control and she wants to keep it going. She doesn't want nothing to stop this fantasy land she has created. I love how they portrayed the characters in this episode too, and in the theme song. It looked just like, like Malcolm in the Middle. Like if you watch this episode, if you have ever watched Malcolm in the Middle, this show will definitely give you nostalgic tease. Oh my gosh, I loved how they portrayed Wanda as Lois and as Vision as Bryan Cranston. It was perfect because like how Vision was realizing how Wanda's controlling everything. I just loved how they used Bryan Cranston's character in Malcolm in the Middle to basically offset Vision's in this episode. It was a very nice touch. And with that also in the theme song, they used the fast forwarding button as a way to showcase Billy's speed, because Billy's a speedster like his uncle Quicksilver. So them basically using a fast forward button to basically showcase that, yeah, he's manifesting his powers quote unquote fast like a speedster should. And also using tropes as like Evan Peters being the crazy uncle or like the brother coming to mess up the family's life to cause mischief, like Francis is in Malcolm in the Middle. That's the way they use Evan Peters' character. That's why they called him a man child and whatnot. So I just loved certain things that they did in this episode. I thought it was very good how they created or recreated the 90s tease and the Malcolm in the Middle stuff. They did a really good job. And with them basically putting the naughty when they were going through in the theme song, going through all the family members, and I guess they're considering Agnes as a family member. I just love how they zoomed up on her naughty bits, quote unquote, and basically just giving out like suspicion and foreshadowing, like, yeah, she's a suspicious character, keep your eye on her. And also with the lyrics of the theme song, they express on how let's keep the chaos going. It's basically just alluding to Wanda keeping her chaos magic going, and also that she doesn't want this reality to stop. It's too much to take on her other trauma in her reality, in the actual reality, and that she is just willing to keep it going at any cost. And she's bringing in who you don't know who's going to come in, and that's alluding to Evan Peters' Quicksilver appearance and how he just came in out of nowhere. So that was my take on this episode's theme song and the lyricism in it, because it alludes, you have to watch the theme song very closely because it also alludes to what's going on in these episodes. So I can't wait to see what they do with next week's episode, or this week's episode, since I'm uploading it on Nerdy Thursdays. Then you guys have Billy and Tommy breaking the fourth wall like Malcolm in the Middle, showcasing that this episode is a 90s, early 2000s style. And you have them in the episode manifesting their powers rather quickly. They have a cutaway gag where you have Billy and Tommy doing Dance Dance Revolution, and it's on the hardest level. So this is completely easy for Tommy, and he basically blows Billy out the way. And at the end of the episode, we have young little Billy manifesting in his Wiccan powers and doing telekinesis with his father and seeing that he was confronting swords, and he thought that Vision was in trouble, which he was, because Vision was breaking down, and he stops Billy in his tracks with his powers, and he goes and tells his mom. So they are showing that Wiccan and Speed are coming into their own rather quickly, and that you might see them in the new Young Avengers here soon. Then we have Vision taking in his own will and doing whatever he wants against Wanda's own decisions. And he is taking the job of Neighborhood Watch against Wanda's will. And he is taking a closer look at the town and the glitches and all the reality that Wanda permits to work. And he sees a woman glitching and crying because she's being forced to do something against her will. And this is showcasing that Wanda's powers only go so far. And he takes a look up into the sky. He flies up and looks around in the sky, and he sees a car, and it's just frozen there. He goes to take a look and see that is Agnes. And in this episode, Agnes is also at the edge of the town where Wanda's ability doesn't stretch that far, and she is in a trance-like state. I'm only saying that it's suspicious because she actually talks to Vision, while all the other ones that are frozen or in a trance-like state does not speak to Vision, and she actually interacts with him, and Agnes, after their conversation, drives away, and that tells me that she is obviously not in the influence of Wanda, or at least not all the way in the influence. She might be also manipulating Wanda as well to help Wanda get through her traumatic life events. My take on the commercial of Yo Magic was that it was a nod to how Wanda and Quicksilver were growing up in Sokovia, and that they basically low-key starved to death and all the hardship they had to go through. Another thing that I feel like the Yo Magic show was a nod to the Soul Stone, because of how the kid ended up decaying and you see just his bones, and then the sun was yellow. So that was just my thing, and how there was day and night and day and night. That's how the soul world worked in Infinity Stone. It was night when they got up to the mountain, and when they were able to make that sacrifice, they were transported to a world where it was day, and then they woke up at night. That's my theory. Also, I was just disturbed that they had a commercial of a kid dang near starving to death. I was like, oh shit. We also see Quicksilver and Wanda heart to heart with each other, because in the comics, Quicksilver knows how Wanda is with her powers, so he tries to console her. And he also in the beginning of the episode, he points out that I'm just here to give you grief and to make chaos against the family. This is what you wanted in this episode, and basically letting everybody know that Wanda is in control somewhat of who and what happened, who comes in the reality bubble and what happens. Because he, let it be known that, he knows that he's a little different, and he knows that everything is in Wanda's doing. So they have a little heart-to-heart, and he's asking her how she did, and she's like, I really don't know. I'm just, I was hurt and empty, and then all this happened, and she takes a look at Quicksilver, and he's filled with bullet holes. And to me, that also looks like, I don't think it's really Mephisto. It could be like a take on Mephisto and Nightmare together, because she keeps having these nightmarish glimpses of Vision in Quicksilver. So I'm thinking, maybe they merged Mephisto and Quicksilver together. Not Quicksilver, but they use Nightmare to make villain controlling Wanda. That's my take on who the villain might be. I think it's either Ralph or the mailman. He was very suspicious too, because he nodded at the kids that, your mom will make sure that dog's found. So that's my take on who the villain is. And with Quicksilver and Wanda having this heart-to-heart, I really don't believe that Mephisto or the villain is Quicksilver. And I pray to God that they don't just write, Quicksilver off for just one thing. I hope we see him in an MCU movie. But I thought it was very touching how they had them to have a heart-to-heart with their accurate comic costumes. I think it was really cool. And the episode ends with Wanda expanding her little universe and her reality into the real world when she finds out that Vision walked outside of the bubble and is now in trouble. So she expands it to incorporate him and everybody else, and expanding her reality to new bounds because she just can't let Vision go. And that also pointing to the House of M storyline where Wanda, she kills Vision and she basically makes a whole world of mutants, and basically where Magneto is the head or the ruler of this world, and there's just a plethora of mutants. So this is where that is drawing into, where her making the reality bigger, and it's also leading towards mutants because they hinted at this with Monica and her DNA being changed and altered because she kept coming in and out of the anomaly. So with that being said, that's also taking a hint that Wanda is actively changing people's DNA. So we might see mutants in the MCU because of Wanda and her changing everybody's DNA with her expanding her reality bubble. And also hats off to Miss Maximoff for changing those clowns of sword like the clowns that they are. I thought that was a funny touch. I was like, yeah, they are clowns. And I did not like how that commander, I don't even remember his name. I don't want to remember his name. He was talking to Monica. I was like, no. So yeah, I'm glad Wanda turned them into some clowns that they are. So that was my take on this week episode of WandaVision, and I really absolutely love this episode. It did me so much justice. It gave me so much memories of me coming home after school off of the bus and coming home and turning on the cable TV and flipping through the channels to see my favorite show, and I would just watch that Next Top Model and Malcolm in the Middle. I just love this episode and what they did with it, how they portrayed each other's characters. I love what they did with the take on Evan Peters and him being the crazy zany uncle or the man-child of what you will. But this episode was really good. I cannot wait to see what they do with episode 7, where they go into the 2010 eras with Modern Family, and hopefully this is the hour-long episodes that we get. I can't remember if it's like 2 more episodes after this, but we are in for a doozy for a cameo that they are talking about. Like, they're talking about MCU shattering cameo. So whoever this is, fingers crossed that it might be Magneto and that we're really going to get a multiverse event. That's going to go wild. Oh my gosh. Hopefully Marvel knows what they're doing. Until next time, you guys, thank you for watching my videos, and thank you to all my new subscribers. I will come out with more content, new variety of content. This is just, something I'm getting started on my channel to let you guys know that I am a bit of a nerd, and I do like all the nerdy things. So just watch out for all my other content. I'm definitely going to do beauty stuff, comedy, all that jazz, so keep an eye out for that. Hope you guys enjoyed what you guys have saw, and until next time, see you later, dudes.